starting the program review right on time. Meanwhile, we will just be doing a quick round of introductions on the chat here before we start, like we always do. So I'm Prashak Khan. I'm your host for today's webinar. I'm joining all the way from Bangalore, India, and we would love to know where are you tuning in from. So you can drop us a hello on the chat here. Let us know your name and also where are you tuning in from. And please do mention your name because sometimes it's pretty hard to make out your name from your email IDs. So that's all. And also, I think we have good 5 minutes before we start, and I see folks have already started joining in. So you can give your introductions on the chat here, and we'll just get to know each other a little better before we start. So it's always good to network, right? These events before we start. Awesome. I think we have our first introduction here. I can see Terry has joined from Indiana. So welcome, Terry. And folks who basically are still basically joining. So we are just getting started and we'll be starting right on time in few minutes. Meanwhile, I see one introduction in the Q&A box as well. So, okay, Ulysses, if I'm pronouncing your name right, please correct me, has joined us from Miami, USA. So that's great. And for other folks, we just will be starting in a few minutes just on time. Meanwhile, we're just doing quick round of introductions on the chat here. So you can let us know your name and where are you joining us from on the chat. And a quick tip before we start. So in case you have any questions for our speaker who's already joined us, Jeremy, you can let us know in the Q&A box. We'll be taking questions from there. I'll take you through the few ground rules we have for the session in few minutes. Meanwhile, we'll just do a quick round of introductions on the chat here. So I see introductions have already started coming in on the chat here. And as we are also live on our YouTube channel as well. So folks who have joined us on YouTube live are watching us. You can give your introductions there on the chat as well. I'll check that out. Okay. Also, folks who have basically joined on our YouTube channel where the program is also live, we will also be taking questions from the chat box from there as well. So you can let us know if you have any questions. You can let us know on the YouTube chat live box there, and we will take questions from there as well. Only thing is just make sure that questions are related to data science and the program. So that's all. I can see a few more introductions coming in on chat. So I can see Matthew has joined from Texas, USA. I can see Ahmed has joined from Chicago. And Azizul has joined us from Canada. And he says that he's a project manager. So welcome, everyone. We'll be starting in few minutes. We just have few minutes left. Good time, 2 minutes time to basically start and do a quick round of introductions there. And folks who are watching us on YouTube right now and can also share your introductions on the YouTube live chat box. Awesome. I think we are getting a lot of introductions on the chat here, so that's great. So for folks who have just joined us right now, we are just doing quick round of introductions and we're starting the program preview right on time in few minutes. I can see Salim has joined from Seattle and Admola has joined from Lagos, Nigeria. My data science master's degree is in VO. So that's great, Admola. And folks who are just joining right now, we are just starting the session and we're just doing a quick round of introductions on the chat here before we start. So folks who have just joined right now, just to let you know that I'm Rashak Khan. I'm your host for today's webinar. And I'm thrilled to be a host today. We're just doing a quick round of introductions on the chat here. You can let us know your name and where are you tuning in from, and also for the folks who are watching us live on YouTube. So before we start, let me quickly take you through a few ground rules we have for the session. So in case you have any questions for our speaker, Jeremy, who has already joined us, you can let us know in the Q&A box. Q&A box is something you can navigate very easily just beside the chat box if you're joined from a mobile, laptop, desktop. And the session is being recorded in case you want to go through the recording of the session once again. In case you've missed anything, you can basically expect a follow-up email with the recording link and the webinar certificate, and also the bonus offer for attending the webinar. Now, what exactly is the bonus offer? Bonus offer is for the program Caltech Data Science Bootcamp, which we'll be talking about in basically some time about that. And also to request a proof of attendance for this webinar, you can enter your full name in the post-webinar survey. Basically, the full name will reflect in the certificate of this webinar. So this happens when basically we end the session that is of 60 minutes duration, and you will get a Zoom pop-up which shows you a survey, and that is where you can put down your full name there. That will be really helpful for us to basically put down your name and your certificate. And also to get the certificate of this webinar, you need to stay till the end of the session. So that is how you can basically attain the certificate as well. I can see Swara has joined from Mumbai, India, and says I'm completing my last year of BE degree specializing in AI/ML. So that's interesting, Swara. Thank you for joining. We're just doing quick autumn introductions and also taking you through the ground rules here. This program is powered by Simplilearn, world's #1 online bootcamp. We are very proud with that. We have been in the digital space for the last over 13 years, and we have been transforming lives by empowering people via digital skills like AI, ML, data science, business analytics, cloud computing, full stack development, product management, and many more categories which we cover. Also, we have advanced over 5 lakh plus careers in over 150 plus countries, and we have plenty of qualified trainers basically who take up these programs. Also, to move on, let's talk about the agenda of today's session. So we will be talking about you, getting to know you a little better, how we can help you out in your career. And we'll be talking about data science careers in 2024. And also, we'll be talking about how the Caltech CTME program prepares you, and also how this program gets you job ready. We'll be taking you through the enrollment steps of the program, and also there'll be a special duration for the Q&A part. So now, in case you're putting on the questions in the Q&A box, I will try to take as many questions as possible throughout the session, which usually Jeremy does. But in case we are not able to answer your question immediately, please don't worry. Just have a little patience. We'll take it towards the end. So thank you so much once again for everyone who has just joined right now. We're just quickly going through the ground rules and agenda of today's session. And as we move on, we'll start with a quick poll just to get to know you a little better. So you can see a quick poll on your screen here. Hi, so sorry, I faced a little glitch. So yeah, I was talking about that we'll be getting to know you a little better, and we'll start with getting to know you, how many years of experience do you currently have? So you can see a quick poll on your screen here, where you can see 4 quick options you can choose from. So now when I talk about experience, I'm talking about work experience here. So the 4 options, I'll just read out those for you. So the first one is less than 2 years. Second one, 2 to 5 years. Third one, 5 to 10 years. And the last one, more than 10 years. So you can choose the most suitable option for you. For folks replying on chat, they can also let us know on the poll as well. That will give us an understanding as well. For usually folks join us from different set of experiences, and that's pretty interesting, right? To be a part of such crowd as well, who have joined you. So through this poll, you can let us know how many years of experience do you currently have. And in case this does not cover your response, you can let us know in the Q&A box as well. Okay, I can see. Okay, I think there's an introduction on the Q&A box. So thank you so much for the introduction. I think I saw the introduction in the chat as well. And I can see Alex says that he has 2 to 5 years of experience, so that's great. And I see more introductions coming in on chat. I think I'll just give 5 seconds more for the poll here because I see most of the folks have already shared responses for the poll. So once again, I'll just read out for you how many years of experience do you currently have is what the current poll which says, and you can choose from the options which you can see on your screen, whatever is the most suitable option for you in terms of your work experience. So last 5 seconds for few folks who are still basically voting. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let me quickly end the poll and also share the results with you folks. So as you can see that 32% of the folks who have joined us have more than 10 years of experience, and equally 32% of the folks who have joined us have less than 2 years of experience. So that's great. And 19% of the folks who have joined us have 2 to 5 years of experience, and 16% of the folks have 5 to 10 years of experience. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. And it's always good to see folks joining from different set of experiences. As we move on, I would love to introduce our speaker today, Jeremy Samuelson. Jeremy, first of all, would like to thank you for taking the time off for this program review today. We have something very interesting lined up for them. We'll be talking about how they can unleash their data science career in 2024 through this Caltech Data Science Bootcamp. So we would love to know a little bit about you. Can you share an introduction?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, great to be here. Um, Glad to see everybody in the chat. Looks like we have a pretty diverse crowd. Very cool. Yeah, so a little bit about me. So yeah, I'm listed as the chief data scientist for Data Solutions. That actually is my firm, my consultancy. So I actually have a handful of clients. Biggest one right now is I'm primarily spending my time as the kind of principal data scientist for what's called the digital identity engineering team at Equifax. Um, so they're probably everybody's heard of Equifax, right? They're a big one of the big three credit bureaus, but actually they do perform a number of services for many clients in the financial services sector. So primarily for lending institutions, we actually provide services around detecting and preventing various types of fraud. In particular, my team is interested in identity fraud. So we basically are applying machine learning and AI to the detecting of identity fraud as it's occurring in what are called new account openings. So as people apply for, depository accounts, new lines of credit, things like that, we're basically taking a close look, or our models rather are taking a close look at those applications to determine if we think any type of fraud is taking place on those accounts. But overall, I've actually been in industry for a little over 15 years. It was 15 years back in July this last summer. And I've actually been in a number of sectors in my time that I've been here. So spent about 3 years doing consulting in healthcare, trying to help hospitals to be more profitable. Because that's profitability is actually a huge problem for hospitals in the United States. And then moved into the financial services sector and did a lot of different things. So like indirect procurement spending analysis, a lot of modeling around that, around like vendor risk, vendor consolidations, that kind of thing. Did some work in real estate as well, kind of on the investing side for commercial real estate firms, which if you guys have been following the news, that would be an interesting space to be in today for sure. Although that was still an interesting space to be in 10 years ago. It was a lot of fun. Did some algorithmic trading also on the hedge fund side. Started out kind of getting into fraud detection actually with MasterCard, detecting payment fraud. Had a little bit of a detour into research with a startup based out of Silicon Valley, looking into ways to accelerate deep learning inference on a novel chip architecture that had been developed by that company. And then from there went into supply chain management, optimizing supply chains and things like that for about 3 years, and now I'm back in the financial services and fraud detection space at Equifax. So I've seen a number of different things.
Thank you so much, Jeremy, for your introduction. That's a lot of experience, I must say. And so, as we are live on YouTube as well, someone just asked me that are we just streaming it live is just a video. No, we are actually doing a live Zoom session. Prathamesh, so hi. So left a comment. So just to let you know. So as we move on, we'll be starting with talking about careers in data science in 2024. So let's talk about how the data is driving 2024's economy. Jeremy.
Are you asking me how do I think data science is going to be driving economics in
Yeah,
2024?
yeah.
Oh, yeah. So okay, yeah, excellent question. I think that data science and AI this past year have already been, pretty big drivers of growth and investment in kind of the business sectors, various business sectors of the United States. But I think that was really just kind of the beginning. I think that there were a lot of companies that were getting a foothold this past year that we're going to see a lot of great things from, and I think that AI and machine learning are actually going to transform a lot of spaces, a lot of industry sectors in the United States, which is I think both a good thing and a bad thing. It kind of just depends on your viewpoint. Um, I say to my kids, um, back in the 90s when I grew up, a little bit dating myself, if somebody didn't really, study hard in school or didn't get very good grades or they dropped out, then people would there was almost this saying of like, oh, well, pizzas don't deliver themselves. And I keep telling my kids, like, well, actually they do now. So you have to be, so just stay in school. I think there are a lot of jobs that we're going to see being automated. I think that's, a lot of people are afraid of that. And I think that that is a real thing to be concerned about, that we're probably going to start seeing a lot of that. I think in other spaces, though, where people have been concerned about, job automation through AI, I think it's more going to be that human creativity and productivity is going to be just mostly augmented by artificial intelligence. And I think that that's probably going to happen across the board. Like it would be faster to tell you what industries that won't happen in, because I think it's going to be happening, basically everywhere all over the world. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a massive space to be in for sure.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And also, as you can see the numbers here, so the Fortune Business Insight says that the big data spending will surge from $41 billion in 2019 to $116 billion in by 2027. So that is basically the growth of data in 2024 and beyond as well. So as we have talked about the data in the upcoming here, let's talk about the hottest skills in the data science space in 2024 as well. As you can see, Jeremy, there are so many skills, which will be in demand in
Mhm.
2024. But maybe you can tell us something which folks who come from a completely different background and have no knowledge of data science, what skill they can take up, to start with.
Yeah, absolutely. So, kind of the first things that you would want to, start looking into would be sort of the classical machine learning. So I like that that bullet point is actually first on this slide, because that is a great way to get started. And that incorporates actually a number of things that are on here. So like Bayesian statistics, absolutely is sort of the basis of machine learning. So that would be a good thing to know with a view toward learning about machine learning models and how you apply that to solving various business problems. There's also very much the kind of the mathematical mindset that I think is required for that as well. That is needed, because you'll talk to a lot of business stakeholders as a data scientist, and they have a lot of excellent experience. They have a lot of excellent intuition, a lot of excellent domain knowledge in their space, and so they can often identify, what kinds of things do they think should be pursued? What kinds of things should they go after, or should we go after in the business? As the data scientists, you have to kind of listen to them, listen to their intuitions and their insights that they have. Sort of treat a lot of that like it's a hypothesis and basically validate all of that in the data, and ultimately give everything sort of more of this like formal mathematical structure, right? So rather than this, kind of maybe nebulous idea of like, well, we should try to be better about this, or we should try to be better about, this process or that process, you actually really do need to, kind of give everything this more formalized structure. Like, okay, what exactly are we trying to achieve? What are the inputs? What are the outputs? How are we going to measure this? All of that kind of stuff. And really having to learn how a lot of these machine learning models work. What do the inputs and outputs look like? How do you score them? All of that kind of stuff kind of forces you to kind of view the business world in that way. So I think that is probably the most central, most critical skill to all of this. And then all of this other stuff I think kind of gets kind of added in. So like time series analysis is just, kind of a particular application of different machine learning. Same with computer vision and natural language processing. It's just a particular kind of like application domain that you'll see. A lot of these things too, sort of, if you're working as a data scientist, you kind of start to see these technologies without thinking about it too much. So like cloud computing, so like AWS, Azure, GCP, absolutely. You're going to be using those technologies as you're, dealing with large data sets, as you are, training your models, deploying your models. At this point, I think it's very rare that you're not on some kind of cloud platform. So yeah, a lot of these things like Hadoop, Spark, cloud computing, all of that kind of stuff. Absolutely, you're going to have to know that sort of thing. Um, you know, and just yeah, it's almost going to become this thing that you like don't see or don't realize you're doing or dealing with as part of your day to day job. But absolutely, is critical. And also, I think this bullet point's exciting. The explainable AI bullet point is huge because that is a very active area of research in machine learning and in AI. So particularly in the realm of deep learning and artificial neural networks, we have a very hard time kind of interpreting some of these models, right? And or any of them really in certain uh, certain arenas or certain domains. So it can be very, very difficult if you have to give any kind of explanation of like, why is my model doing what it's doing, why is it making the decisions it's making. And we've had a lot of, I think, really big breakthroughs in this area, and there's still a lot of active research happening in that space. And that's the thing that we actually have to use quite a bit at Equifax. So our models are actually used in credit decisions, and so if anyone who's applying for credit is denied, their application is denied for any reason, uh, you know, it's having your model be able to, or being able to explain your model or explain like why the decision was made that was made isn't really a nice to have. It's actually like a regulatory requirement. So absolutely, we're doing a lot of exploration and a lot of work in this space as well. So.
Jeremy, thank you so much for taking us these training skills, which will be there in the data science space in 2024.
Mhm.
Folks, apologies for the spam here. We have removed the spammer here. I think this AI chatbot spam is like again like ironic example of data science. So ignore that, please. And also, as we have talked about so many skills which will be in demand in 2024, I'm pretty sure you folks have joined and you are aspiring to become a data scientist in the future. So we would love to know like which of these skills you would want to take up in 2024, or you're planning to take up, or you're already actually studying those, or basically learning about those. You can let us know on the chat here. So we would love to know that. You can look at these skills here, and also folks at YouTube as well who have joined us. You can let us know there as well. So folks, we are actually paying attention to the YouTube live chat as well. So we will be taking questions from there as well. So please do let us know if you have any questions. We'll take those questions in some time. So now that we have talked about the skills here, let's talk about the trending data science career paths in 2024. So as you can see, there are so many career paths they can take up in 2024. So maybe Jeremy can take us through a few of these career paths, which will be really good for folks who come from a data science or a non-data science background.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think the one kind of job title that is sort of the most catch-all with all of these, that sort of gives you, I guess, sort of the most options, would just be data scientist. Uh, Kind of the trouble with it, I think, is that what exactly does it mean to be a data scientist? Um, right? Like, what exactly does that job title, mean, or what does it look like day to day? To be honest, that actually changes a bit company to company. So there are kind of different companies will expect different things out of you. Um, you know, just kind of based on what they think a data scientist is or what that means. But generally, you're the one as the data scientist who is looking at the data, generating insights, right? Kind of helping people make sense of these large amounts of data, and ultimately that often leads to building and deploying models. which could be machine learning models, but it could be all kinds of stuff, right? I mean, there are models that I've used that are kind of more in the realm of like operations research, simulation, different things like that. So yeah, I think data scientist, the job title is quite broad in terms of what it could mean. Some of these as well are almost sort of kind of like getting rolled up into data scientists. So like statistician, you'll still see that job title being posted on job boards from time to time. Um, but it's like more and more statisticians, people who have historically worked as statisticians, are just calling themselves data scientists. I would say that's also true about actuarial scientists and quantitative analysts, quantitative researchers, also known as quants. They're sort of like the data scientists of the finance world. Um, so yeah, a lot of those actually are kind of starting to like roll up together. Um, but then, yeah, you have like AI research scientists. So that actually is, I think, a very exciting career path to go into. So as a data scientist, you'll use AI and machine learning a lot, but mostly your innovation is going to be kind of in how do you apply existing algorithms to new business problems that you're encountering. Um, the development, though, of the algorithms themselves is actually done by AI research scientists. So as you see new, machine learning and AI techniques being developed, new papers being published, that kind of stuff, that's sort of coming out of that space is the AI research scientist. A relatively new one that's kind of coming up, I think, more often now is the machine learning engineer that's being listed just under data scientist. So again, this really comes down to like, what does your particular company think a data scientist is or what they do? There are companies I've worked at or worked with where you're not considered a data scientist if you're not able to deploy your own models, right? So it's just kind of expected that a data scientist is going to develop a model and then also put that model into production. Some companies, though, have, I think, very, big, very complex production environments that are tough to navigate. So it's almost kind of like this whole other skill set in and of itself, right? To be able to, to deal with that and to be able to scale algorithms up and deploy them in a completely sound productionized way. So the machine learning engineers sort of emerged kind of as this go between like the data scientist and the data engineer. So they kind of know enough about the ETL pipeline. Maybe they're not a full blown data engineer, but they know enough about the pipeline that data's flow through, or that data sets flow through, and they know enough about machine learning that if you hand them a model and say deploy this, then they can get that deployed efficiently and get that plugged into the ETL pipeline and to to all the different processes that feed and consume that model. So that's, I think, a pretty hot kind of up and coming thing that you'll see. Data engineer, I think, is also always solid. It's actually a separate career from data scientist. So like, I'm not a data engineer at all, but I do rely very heavily on data engineers basically in any space where I'm working, because they're the ones that really kind of get you connected to the data. They get it. They think about all these things like, oh, well, we have these two databases that are updated at these different rates and they communicate in these ways. And so how do we make sure that like everything's totally consistent and that you can trust the data that you're getting out of both of them and all that stuff? So I wouldn't be able to do what I do at all without data engineers. So, very glad to have them around. One thing to consider as well in kind of choosing a career path is that you actually typically need to have more data engineers in a company than you need to have data scientists. So often you can get away with just having one or two data scientists, but you'll often need 3, 4, or 5 data engineers for every data scientist that you have. So just because of the nature of the work that they're doing, you just often need more of them. And they still, you know, uh, it's not really like a quality versus quantity trade-off. They still make very good money. And there just are more jobs kind of out there for the data engineers. Yeah, everything else. So data analysts, BI analysts, they're kind of more about just, again, sort of visualizing the data, making reports. They don't necessarily get so much into the modeling and all of that kind of stuff. And then, yeah, we'll call out the data architect as well. So the data architect is really essential in kind of coming up with like, what does the whole solution look like, right? What does your whole data structure look like? Is this a data lake? Is it a data warehouse? Is it a data fabric? Like, they're the ones that have to understand the difference between all of these architectures, what are the company's needs, what's appropriate, like, what's really going to be like the best architecture to implement all of that kind of stuff. So those are also very, very essential professionals that are needed on any team. But they're a little bit more like the data scientists in that you generally need like one or two of them and then you're set. So, so something to think about.
Thank you so much, Jeremy, for taking us to a detailed explanation of these titles. Someone in the Q&A box also says thank you for the insight on different titles within data science. As we are live on YouTube as well, we are getting questions on the chat box there, something very related to the slide here. So I'll just read out that question for you. This
Okay.
is from Banka Parimal, which is the very simple question that which is good, data science or full stack?
Is this, oh, this is in the chat. Let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see. Can you say it again?
Which is good, data science or full stack?
So I would say here's kind of the interesting sort of caveat about that. So if you say that you're a full stack data scientist, that would kind of imply that you can kind of do the whole thing end to end, right? That you can do the data engineering piece, that you're exceptionally good at the statistical analysis and machine learning piece, and that you also can then go ahead and deploy your own models, maintain those deployments, maintain the inference and testing pipelines, the monitoring, all that kind of stuff. There kind of was this idea in the industry for a while, I'd say about 5 years back, that like the people were looking for these like unicorns that could do all of that. But I think after probably a year and a half or so, they all kind of realized that for the most part, these unicorns don't exist. And that if they do exist, if you find one occasionally, they want like double the salary that anybody else is asking for. And I think also on the other side of that, what few unicorns there were, I think also kind of realized that it wasn't super worth it to be a unicorn because it was, really a lot of work. It took a lot of work and a lot of experience to have and to maintain all these different skill sets. So it's almost like you're doing the work of like two or three different people, but you're not really getting two or three times the salary for being that unicorn. And so that's why we see that there are kind of all these different, more specialized job titles that have emerged, because it's actually just more beneficial for everybody on both sides. To just go ahead and specialize and to hire specialists and things like that, rather than trying to be kind of like worried about being that full stack, data science unicorn. So.
Thank you so much, Jeremy, for answering that. I hope Banka Parimal answers your question. Please do let us know on the YouTube live chat box. And also, as you can see, there are so many trending data science career paths you can take up in 2024 and beyond. Which of these career paths are you aspiring for or planning to take up? So you can let us know on the chat here. I'll just give 1 minute for you to have a look and let us know on the chat which of these data science career paths you are aspiring for, you would want to become. Also, I see we are getting a lot of questions here in the Q&A box as well. We will be addressing your queries throughout the session as we get time, but we'll be having a special duration for the Q&A part as well. So please don't worry in case we are not able to answer your question immediately. So you can let us know on the chat like which of the data science careers you are aspiring for. Now that we have talked about skills, we have talked about careers, we have talked about basically what exactly is changing in the data science economy here. And let's talk about what exactly is changing in the data science space for 2024 as well. So as you can see on the screen here, so Jeremy, can you take us through what exactly is changing in data science?
Yeah. So, this field is, I think, changing rapidly in a number of ways. One is the widespread adoption, right, and integration of artificial intelligence, which is mentioned here on the slide. I think that's spot on. But also, the technologies are moving really quickly. So, like, you have to really kind of keep up with a lot of things that are happening, right? So, you had Chat GPT get sort of released to the public back in, I think it was November of 2022. And that very rapidly changed everything. So that app, right, or product or whatever, reached 100 million users faster than anything else in history, and by a lot. It wasn't even close. So you saw immediately this widespread adoption completely changed a lot of attitudes and a lot of minds. about artificial intelligence, which I think is good. I think we're a little bit in a hype cycle right now, and there are a lot of people that are just kind of asking for it without knowing like why they would need it or what it could possibly be used for, which is a thing that's hard to deal with as a data scientist, especially in consulting. So you have to kind of help sort of temper their expectations and help them understand, be a little bit more organized about what they want or what they're asking for. But yeah, that's absolutely all over the place now. Tons of clients are asking for it, especially in the large language model type space. Yeah, a lot of issues are being raised, I think, about ethical data practices. I also saw a question in the chat about kind of the bias mitigation and and ethical AI. So yeah, there are a lot of kind of real ramifications of using AI and machine learning because it's a statistical approach. It's never perfect. The models do make mistakes. They do make errors, and so there are real consequences to that. So it's like and that there are kind of observed biases that emerge in certain domains where AI and machine learning are trying to be applied, particularly in criminal justice. It has been some use of machine learning models in um, sentencing and making parole decisions, things like that, and that there have been some, very real observed biases in how inmates of different demographics or defendants of different demographics are treated, even by machine learning models that are, supposed to be fair and unbiased. That's why we started trying to use them, but it turns out that's like not exactly happening. So yeah, there is some real work that I think needs to be done there to make sure, uh, that these models are still as accurate as possible, but that they're not inherently or intrinsically unfair or biased toward any particular group. Um, Quantum computing impact. I'm not sure that we're really seeing a whole lot of quantum computing impact in AI or machine learning yet. Again, that might be one of those things that just changes overnight all of a sudden. But I think we still need to see quite a bit more progress in the quantum computing space before that really starts to have a real impact, especially in industry on machine learning. Yeah, automation and auto ML. That actually is a really big thing. So there are more and more tools now, especially with the advent of large language models, that allow like sort of low code or no code kind of implementation of solutions. In fact, had a client company. I was talking to their VP of data science recently, and they mentioned they had kind of put this survey out to the whole company, and they had said, what do you guys think? Like, what are some use cases that you guys think we could apply, machine learning and AI to? They got an overwhelmingly, huge response, right? So they had thousands of use cases submitted. They then had to review them to figure out, like, okay, which of these are actually plausible, which of these, seem like we really should implement them. Even after whittling it down, they still arrived at something like 450 use cases, right? And so another VP of data science is looking at this saying like, well, I've just got like my little team. Like there's no way that we can, implement 450 use cases for AI or machine learning across this whole enterprise. So they really are looking at, some of these tools like Flowwise or Langflow, like some of these, applications that let you do sort of more like drag and drop or, low code, no code types of options for implementing large language model solutions. And their hope is that if they, they're kind of like most of these 450 use cases that we need to implement are actually pretty simple and straightforward to do. And so we're thinking we can basically kind of give this auto ML tool to most of the people who have come up with the idea for the use cases and let them sort of self-serve, right? Let them sort of kind of build their own solution. And then we as the data science team would only have to really get involved with the things that are more nuanced, more complicated, right? And that would require us to, that aren't really served by a low code, no code option that we would really have to kind of like, get down to the nuts and bolts to implement. Excuse me. And then, yeah, interdisciplinary skills. Absolutely. As a data scientist and machine learning engineer, you're typically, a mathematician or a computer scientist, right? You're someone who kind of has this experience with data and modeling and things like that. But there are, things that you don't necessarily know about, say, real estate or payment fraud or healthcare or whatever, right? And so in order to really learn about a lot of the ins and outs of those spaces, so you can learn about what sorts of data sources should you be interested in, how should you treat those data sources, um, things like that, you really need to kind of rely on the domain subject matter experts to sort of kind of help you sort of help direct your efforts as well.
Thank you so much, Jeremy, for taking us through what's changing in the data science space for 2024. We do have one question on our YouTube live chat box that by Preet Patel. Will the numbers of employee in the company will decrease after the arrival of AI technology?
So that's an excellent question. I don't think anybody really knows the answer to that. Unfortunately, I'd like to give you a more satisfying answer.
Mhm.
I think a lot of that does depend on the industry sector, though, right? So, um, if you have a situation where, let's see, like, warehouses or manufacturing, things where there are just these, kind of highly repetitive tasks that are done over and over again. That's the kind of thing that is, I think, sort of ripe for automation through artificial intelligence. I think in other cases, though, even with things that we see, like, you see all the time articles that get pushed or published out there or reposted on LinkedIn or whatever about like, oh, there's this AI model that is able to give more accurate diagnoses than most doctors or more accurate legal advice than most lawyers or whatever. Despite the fact that we see stuff like that, I still think those careers, those areas are going to be highly, human intensive, right? I mean, there still is definitely a lot of value in the human connection, the human interaction of healthcare, right? Kind of that bedside manner, if you will, that you get with a human nurse or a human doctor. Um, so I think there are certain things that just because of the nature of what it is, we're never really going to see it automated. Again, it might be enhanced or kind of augmented by through the use of AI or ML, but we're never going to see humans just be straight up replaced in certain industry sectors.
Thank you so much, Jeremy, for answering that. I hope, Preet, that answers your question. You can let us know if you have any follow-up questions on the YouTube live chat box. As we move on, we have talked about the skills here. We have talked about the hottest career paths you can take up in 2024. And we have also talked about what's changing in the data science space in 2024. So what exactly is stopping you from becoming a data science expert? So you can see a quick poll on the screen. This is a multiple choice poll. You can select multiple options here because there can be multiple concerns or challenges, right, when it comes to aspiring for a data science career. So this poll is to understand what exactly is the challenge you're facing when it comes to taking up a career in data science or becoming a data science expert. You can just choose from these four options here. In case if that answers basically your challenge here. I'll just read out these options for you. The first one, I can't find a program with a fully comprehensive curriculum. Second one, I wouldn't get the practical exposure I need to become job ready. Third one, I find it difficult to learn from pre-recorded videos. And the last one, my work schedule won't allow me enough time for learning. If these are the four challenges you face, you can let us know here. But in case if this does not cover your challenge or concern when it comes to taking up a career in data science or becoming a data science expert, you can let us know on the chat or in the Q&A box as well. So please don't worry. For folks who have joined us live on YouTube, you can let us know on the chat box there as well. Also, folks, we'll be taking the questions from the Q&A box towards the end of the session. There is a special duration for the Q&A part. So please do put down your questions in the Q&A box if you have any questions about the program or also data science career in general. We would love to help you out. Awesome. I think most of the folks have already responded for the poll here. So I think I'll just give 5 seconds more for the poll. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let me quickly end the poll and also share the results with you folks. Let's see what is your biggest concern here when it comes to taking up a career in data science or becoming a data science expert. So as we see that 72% of the folks have voted for I wouldn't get the practical exposure I need to become job ready. And 36% of the folks have voted for my work schedule won't allow me enough time for learning. And 31% of the folks have voted for I can't find a program with a fully comprehensive curriculum. And 15% of the folks have voted for I find it difficult to learn from pre-recorded videos. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. Now let us quickly give you an introduction of the Caltech's Data Science Bootcamp. So Caltech's Data Science Bootcamp comes with a comprehensive curriculum and industry-aligned learning path. You get access to integrated labs and hands-on projects for practical experience. You get access to online virtual classrooms with peer and instructor interaction. And this program duration is of 6 months. So you can just complete it by giving 5 to 10 hours per week in case you are a working professional. This program basically makes it flexible to fit your lifestyle schedule. And also this is in collaboration with our silver business partner, IBM. We'll be talking more about that in the next slide. And at the end of it all, you get a Caltech CTMA Bootcamp certification, which you can see on the screen from California Institute of Technology for the Caltech Data Science Bootcamp. And also you get certificates for core and elective courses as well. We'll be talking more about that in the upcoming slides. And 25 plus hands-on projects to work on integrated labs, masterclasses from Caltech CTMA, and also our Silver's business partner, IBM. Exclusive hackathons, AMA sessions by IBM, and you receive up to 14 CUs from Caltech CTME, which is equivalent to 140 hours of learning. So that's great. And also you get to be a part of the Caltech CTME Circle membership. And you get to basically be part of an online convocation, which is pretty interesting, where you cannot just invite your closest family, but also your far relatives and your friends as well to attend your online convocation by Caltech here. Now, let's talk about the Caltech CTMA Advantage here. So California Institute of Technology is a 130-year-old institution. It's a home and alma mater of many Nobel laureates, and it currently ranks in the top 5 universities worldwide. And having a Caltech CTMA on your CV is prestigious accomplishment recognized worldwide. Here, not talking about the IBM Advantage here, where you get access to exclusive hackathons and Ask Me Anything sessions by IBM, masterclasses by IBM, industry recognized IBM certificates, and list of courses in collaboration with IBM as well. R programming for data science, Python for data science. These are the courses, certificates you'll be getting for certificates. And also, I think someone asked about the eligibility and the prerequisites in the Q&A box or in the chat here, basically if you're eligible for this program or not. So let me just quickly take you through that. So you need to have a prior knowledge or experience in programming and mathematics. You need to be at least 18 years and have a high school diploma or equivalent. And also you need preferably 2+ years of experience or formal work experience is preferred. Now, I think someone asked on the chat box here, basically how good one has to be in maths to be successful in data science career, Jeremy, and also how much of mathematics are we expecting them to know, like programming and mathematics?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. I would say the kind of two most essential things in math that you need to understand. Actually, it would be hard to only do two. Let's maybe say three. So you should be very familiar with statistics. We'll say statistics and probability. We'll group them together. And being able to kind of understand things like selection bias, things like that would actually kind of confound a model so that you can be able to interpret what your models are doing, make recommendations about how to make models better, understand why maybe your models might not be performing as well as you'd like them to or need them to. The other thing that you really need is linear algebra, but not like any deep linear algebra, just enough that you really understand vectors, matrices, the idea of like what is a vector space, how does matrix multiplication work, and certain other matrix operations like transposition, things like that. You can actually get this if you're interested in textbooks. This is just Linear Algebra and Its Applications by David C. Lay. Very gentle introduction to linear algebra. Doesn't really assume that you have a whole bunch of, deeper technical background. So excellent, I think, first textbook in linear algebra if you're kind of looking for a quick start there. And then a little bit of differential calculus, just to understand the idea of derivatives, what they are, how they're used in optimization, things like that. Because the way that we actually fit models to data does involve calculus, and it actually involves rather high dimensional multivariable calculus. But I think if you just kind of get sort of the general idea of what differentiation is and how it's used in optimization, that should be enough, because actually a lot of the tools that are used today, like TensorFlow or PyTorch, actually kind of do the auto differentiation. So you don't actually need to like calculate these high dimensional gradients. You just kind of need to understand like how is it that we're using calculus to fit the model or to optimize the model.
Thank you so much, Jeremy, for answering that. I think we have gotten plenty of questions related to what you've answered. I hope that answers your question. Please do let us know if you have any follow-up questions as well. I think someone, Owl, has asked about the name of the books. I've replied
There,
linear
I'll
algebra, but
I'll
by
put it in the chat. Let's see. I have to make sure I can chat with everybody. So it's called. Oh, whoops. Why am I not typing? Oh, I was typing on the wrong keyboard. I have two keyboards here. So linear algebra and its applications. This is actually the 3rd edition. By David C. Lay. There you go. So that's in the chat. So that was the textbook that was used for my first class in linear algebra and from my undergrad. But so excellent textbook, very gentle introduction. So yeah, that's the one I would recommend.
Owl says thank you. Thank you so much for Jeremy for sharing that. And let's talk about how this program prepares you. So let's talk about how the program builds your data science skills step by step. Can you take us through the steps, Jeremy?
Yeah, absolutely. So like many programs, we start with a sort of an orientation, just to sort of lay out the ground rules, right? It's almost like syllabus week, right? So this is what you can expect from us. This is what we expect from you. Kind of just gives you sort of quick like how to succeed, right? At this in this program. Then we get into the statistics. So essentials about statistics for data science. So um, yeah, and again, we think a lot about experiment design, possible confounding factors, all that kind of stuff. Because in real data sets, that's like a real thing you have to deal with, right? So then we get into tools that you'll actually use. So like R programming for data science. R is actually the first language that I learned for data science. And I've used it on a number of projects in industry. So really, really great for the data exploration, the statistical analysis, visualizations, reporting, things like that. So excellent tool for that kind of stuff. I think it also is really great for a lot of the kind of more classical statistical modeling. Has a lot of really fantastic built-in tools for that. Then we get into Python, which really kind of is more of a general purpose language. So like R was kind of like made with statistical analysis in mind, um, which means it's very good and very powerful for that kind of thing. But where it's not a general purpose programming language, it actually makes it rather limited in terms of like actually deploying stuff or implementing things, at sort of like an enterprise scale. I think they're doing a lot of work to sort of catch it up, but I think at this point, Python just kind of has become sort of the winner, like the clear winner, the sort of like de facto, language for data science. So I think at this point the industry is pretty set in its ways in terms of that we're going to just use Python now for most things. So you'll have to learn about Python for data science, which includes sort of the like data science sort of core stack. So that would be NumPy, SciPy, Matplotlib for visualizations, Pandas, which gives us access to data frames to deal with more general tabular data, Scikit-learn, which is an excellent toolbox for a lot of kind of classical machine learning algorithms, things like that. Then we get into applied data science with Python, and this is where we actually start thinking about things like how do we kind of prepare data for machine learning algorithms? How do we get insights out of data? What are techniques around dealing with, say, like missing values, outliers, what are the different kinds of statistical assumptions that are made by different methodologies for dealing with these things. Maybe when should you actually not do anything about missing values? Maybe the missingness is actually important, in and of itself. So there are all kinds of things there that kind of get addressed, to kind of prepare you for the deeper subject, which comes next, which is that we actually just get into machine learning. So you'll learn about a number of different algorithms there. So, classics that are still used all the time, like linear regression, logistic regression, but then also you'll get into things like k-nearest neighbors, decision trees, random forest. I believe we get into like perceptrons and support vector machines as well. So a good kind of like broad introduction to a number of different machine learning algorithms and what they're used for, how to apply them, things like that. Then data visualization with Tableau. So Tableau is actually a very popular and very powerful, I think, tool for kind of sharing what you've learned from your data. So you'll kind of very often you'll sort of implement your sort of reporting to decision makers within a company by publishing reports and dashboards to Tableau. And so then instead of say looking at like a slide deck or like reading a paper or something like that you've written, they'll actually like, log into this Tableau dashboard and start looking through that. And they can actually do some analyses themselves. It's actually flexible enough to sort of allow some of that. But for the most part, if you have like a department head or somebody like that who is trying to look at something that you've put together in Tableau, they are mostly just consuming the things that you've built. And then finally, so I know that many of you mentioned that one of the things that's kind of stopped you from being a data scientist is sort of the lack of like real hands-on kind of like job relevant experience. So that's a thing that Simplilearn and Caltech also recognizes a weakness of many programs, and so they look to address that head on by having this sort of industry focused capstone project where you'll have, I can't remember exactly how long, it's something like a couple of weeks, but you'll actually have time to kind of complete a project starting from like getting into the data, analyzing the data, cleaning it up, getting it ready for modeling, implementing the model, and then ultimately publishing the results to a Tableau dashboard, very much like you would do in like a real real industry setting, right? So that very much gives you like a real sense for, in many data science jobs, like what would you do day to day in that job, so that you can kind of understand what it's really like, and you can demonstrate that you have that knowledge and that capability to any hiring managers that you're looking to get a job with.
Thank you so much, Jeremy, for taking us through the steps here, how basically the program builds their data science skills step by step,
Mhm.
and also about the electives here. So the electives here are business analytics with Excel, data science essentials for generative AI, prompt engineering, and ChatGPT, data storytelling using Power BI, and Caltech data science masterclasses. So electives here are optional. They come as a part of the program, and you don't have to pay anything extra for that. It is up to you if you want to take them up. Also, let's not talking about the tools, libraries, and platforms you will need to learn in this program. I think Python is something Jeremy has already mentioned. Pandas, Tableau, TensorFlow, NumPy, Mathlib, Power BI, which we already mentioned, MySQL, Sci-Fi, mind mapping, and Scikit skills and R programming are the tools, platforms, libraries you'll be learning in this program. Also, the capstone projects here. So I talking about the capstone projects that Jeremy has already mentioned, how basically it is so important to have a capstone project or the industry-based projects which you get to learn from this particular program, which you can add in your portfolio once you're done with the program and showcase it to your future employers. This basically shows a true experience where basically these capstone project mimic real life business scenarios. This definitely helps folks who basically come from a completely different background and have no experience in data science. Also, we have global leaders as program advisors. Rick Hefner, who's the Caltech CTMA program director with over 40 years of experience in systems development and has served in academic, industry, and research positions. Basically, these global leaders make sure that Simplilearn is delivering as per standards of Caltech here. And let's talk about the learner outcomes here. So the interesting part is the previous classes have consisted of learners from world-class organizations and diverse industries. They come from industries like IT, software product, banking, BFSI, and others, and also companies like Amazon, Microsoft, Barclays, Google, Accenture, IBM, Oracle, Bosch, Wells Fargo, and many more like that. And also, Simplilearn provides career assist services as well, which helps you with your job search, where you get access to job portal, Talent Inc., Resume Rabbit, and resume review and rewrite service from Top Resume, and also one-on-one interview service as well from Top Resume. So I think we have gotten few questions here on the Q&A box, Jeremy. I have actually, so as we have gotten plenty of questions, what I've done is I've just sent you a few questions on the chart here because it will be so hard to find. So let's see that first question, which we have from Laurie Freeman, asks that which role works closest with the business on using data to make decisions?
So the role that actually works, I think, the very closest with the business would be either the business analyst or the data scientist. So um, the business analyst really kind of mainly works with the business stakeholders to gather sort of the requirements, right? So they really kind of nail down exactly what are the requirements, exactly what are the criteria around what we're doing. Um, and then the data scientist then works very closely with them to again get a great sense for the environment we're working in, all the kind of nuances around it. How does this ultimately get turned into a mathematical problem with inputs and outputs, and then how are we measuring it, how are we consuming the output, that kind of stuff. So those two roles I would say are the most closely aligned with the business.
Thank you so much, Jeremy, for answering that. I hope that answers your question, Laurie. You can let us know on the chat or in the Q&A box if you have any follow-up questions. We have one more question from Francis here. Is asking that upon enrolling in the self-paced learning of data science program through Simplilearn, which is put in place to help someone stuck while learning. I think he's trying to ask basically when they're stuck while learning in this, but when they have taken up this program, what exactly we do to help them out?
Yeah, so if you are struggling or stuck on anything, we actually have a number of resources. We have the community board, which I think is sort of your first line of defense, where you can post a question. There actually are faculty who look at that. So, like if I have students in my classes and I see them posting, which I do check that regularly, then you can actually, get answers that way. If your question is maybe a little more complicated or a little more nuanced, or the thing that you're stuck on is a little harder to describe, and then just what you could put in a community post, you actually can reach out and set up kind of like a one-on-one session. So we do have like office hours. So you can actually have kind of more of a one-on-one kind of session with an instructor to have them kind of help you work through that. And then also, I've even had this. I don't know if this is officially offered through the program, but this is something that I've done, where you have students, like we've said, that are in companies all over, and they'll want to talk about hey, we're trying to implement this thing. How do we get this off the ground, actually, right? Like, how do I work with my data scientists to actually enable them to get this done? And I'll actually just set up a time. We'll sometimes kind of do that communication outside of the community board or whatever. They'll hit me up on LinkedIn or whatever, and I'll just kind of like take like a half hour or a 60-minute call maybe, to kind of talk them through that kind of thing if they're stuck in something that's maybe not directly related to the class, but that is data science related. Yeah, that's something that I do quite often, actually. So
Thank you so much for answering that, Francis. I hope that answers your question. And do let us know if you have any follow-up question for us as well. I think we'll take one more question before we move on. This is the last one which I've sent you. Can't make out the name from the email ID. So let us know what is your name as I read out your question as well. So with no background in tech, do you think a student who completes a boot camp would be equipped enough to obtain a data analyst versus data scientist position job, or would a master's degree provide better skill equipment?
So, if you don't have any background in tech, I think that may be a bit of a hurdle that you would need to get over to just get that first position, right? But once you've gotten that first one, right, the first one will be the hardest one to get, and then once you've gotten that first one, at that point now you have industry experience. You just have to kind of demonstrate your ability to do the job in that one role, and then you should be fine after that. I think as long as you do have that you have scientist, you should be able if you're looking to be a
this program, and we have answered a few of your career transitions questions as well, and also questions about programming, mathematics, the knowledge of it, the basics of it, which you need to know before joining the program. Is it how much is required, how much is not? I will take more questions, but before that, we would love to know: are you interested in enrolling into the Caltech's Data Science Bootcamp? You can see a quick poll on the screen. Also, just to remind you, for attending this webinar, we actually are giving a bonus offer for folks who basically select yes in this enrollment poll. You can see a quick poll which is not on your screen, where it says, would you like to enroll in the program of Caltech's Data Science Bootcamp? And by selecting yes here in this poll, you basically can avail the bonus offer as well for uh, starting a cohort, which I'll be sharing what are the upcoming cohorts and also the enrollment steps of the program and the program fee as well in the upcoming slides. We are a little beyond the timing of the session, few minutes. So we'll try to take a little faster. But meanwhile, if you have any more questions, you can let us know on the chat here, or you can always write to us at askus@simply.net. I'll just share that email ID in some time in case we are not able to answer your queries. And also folks who have joined us live on YouTube, you can let us know also if you have any questions. I think I'll just give 10 seconds more for the poll here, because as I was speaking, I'm seeing a lot of interest coming towards enrollment. So that's great. So I think I'll just keep the poll live for 10 seconds more. And meanwhile, I see a lot more questions coming up in the Q&A box. We'll try to take as many questions as possible if the time allows. And meanwhile, we'll just take you through the enrollment steps of the program and also ask you basically when do you plan to join. Also, in case you're confused, like when exactly you are planning to join, you have not decided that yet, that's totally okay. We will be asking you that particular question in the upcoming slide just to get a little bit of an idea when do you plan to join, because we have a lot of cohorts that basically get scheduled throughout the year. So if you have not planned when to join, that's totally okay. You can avail the bonus offer even throughout the year. So that's not a problem at all. So I think most of the folks have already shared responses for the poll here. So I think I'll just give last 5 seconds for the poll here. So as we have talked about the skills, we have talked about the career paths you can take up in data science in 2024 and how you can unleash your career as well. And through the program projects you can work on, the Capstone projects, the industry-based projects you get to work on, the IBM being the silver business partner in this program, where you get core and elective certificates as well, a Caltech CTMA certificate as well from California Institute of Technology. And we covered a lot of tools, libraries, and platforms which we talked about as well. So last 5 seconds for the poll here, which you can see on your screen. Would you like to enroll in the Caltech Data Science Bootcamp? Awesome. I think I'll just give last 5 seconds. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let me quickly end the poll. And thank you so much for sharing your interest towards enrollment into Caltech's Data Science Bootcamp. We saw a lot of interest, a lot of yeses. So for the folks who have shared basically interest towards enrollment, let me quickly take you through the enrollment steps here. So you need to follow 3 simple, easy steps. Basically, once learning consultants from Simply will be reaching out to you, they will be basically taking you through the similar enrollment steps. So I'm just giving you a glimpse of that. So you need to submit an application to us at askus@simpleton.net. Based on that, your application will be going for review. The Caltech CTMA reviews your qualifications based on the eligibility and the prerequisite which is shared earlier. And based on that, you'll be getting an admissions offer from learning consultants from Simplilearn, who basically will be contacting you with that. And also the upcoming cohort and the program fee for Caltech Data Science Bootcamp. The classes will be starting on January 22nd, 2024. That's next year. And also the induction for this particular cohort will be on the same day, January 22nd, 2024. And we do have many more cohorts which basically come throughout the year. So you don't have to worry about it, that in case you're not planning to join immediately, we do have other options as well throughout the year. So the program fee for this one is $8,000. And I think someone asked about if there are any EMI options available. So we do have that. You can basically avail for as low as $704 per month. For more assistance, you can always reach out to us at askus@simpleton.net. I'll share that email ID on the chat here in some time. Also, in this particular cohort, we only take folks, basically 25 to 30 folks only, in order to make sure you're getting all the attention that is required while you're taking up this program. And also for the upcoming cohorts as well, we have kept it limited to 25 to 30 only. Now, as you have shared your interest towards enrollment, we would love to know how soon do you plan to enroll in the Caltech Data Science Bootcamp. So you can basically see 4 quick options here. The first one is immediately, second one within 3 months, third one within 6 months, and the last one more than 6 months from now. So as I mentioned earlier, folks who are planning to join immediately can select the first option. And folks who are still thinking about it, are not sure when exactly they want to join, you can select any of these 3 options, which is the most suitable for you to avail the bonus offer. So as I was speaking, I see folks have already started sharing the responses for the poll here, so that's great. I'll just give 5 seconds more for the poll here before we move on. Also, I'll just quickly share the email ID as well. In case you have any questions, if you need any assistance, you can basically reach out to us at askus@simpleton.net. So once the webinar ends, in case you have any questions, I've shared the email ID here. You can basically reach out to us at askus@simpleton.net. And I think I'll just give 5 seconds more for the poll here, because I can see most of the folks have already responded for the poll. So last 5 seconds, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let me quickly end the poll. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Now, one last poll to understand if you need assistance into enrolling into the program. Okay, you can see a quick poll which is launched on the screen with yes or no. If you need assistance in enrolling to the program, you can select one of the options. This is for folks who have already shared interest towards enrollment, and also they have let us know when do you plan to enroll. This is a very important poll question. So we have exceeded few minutes of the program. We just let me quickly take a look through the YouTube live chat here in case we have any questions here. Oh, I think we have answered Prathamesh and Preet Patel's and Banka Parimal's question already. So we have actually answered all of those questions during the session itself. So yeah, I was just going through the questions here. I think I'll just end this poll because I see most of the folks have already shared the responses. So last 5 seconds, folks. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let me quickly end the poll. Thank you so much, folks, for joining the session. We are a little beyond our time of the session. Thank you so much, Jeremy, long, while we will basically
Of
taking
course.
them through the enrollment steps. We do have a lot more questions to get answered, but I think we'll just take those questions in the email ID here, which I've shared here, and we'll answer those questions for you about anything about the program in general or any other program you need to take up with Simplilearn. And Jeremy, thank you so much for taking the time out for this program review of Caltech's Data Science Bootcamp. Would you like to say anything to the crowd here before we end the session?
Yeah, just thank you so much for being here, for sticking with us. It was a pleasure being here and talking to all of you, and I hope that this was very, very helpful, and that for those of you who are really seriously looking into starting a career in data science, I hope you do it, and I wish you all the best. We definitely need all of the all the data scientists we can get.
Agree to that. And I think we have answered few more questions on the chat and in the Q&A box as well. I think Jeremy has done that as well. So thank you so much, folks. You have been a great audience, and we would love to see you in the upcoming cohorts as per the interest you've shown here as well in the enrollment report here. So we would love to see you there in the upcoming cohorts of Caltech's Data Science Bootcamp. So thank you so much, folks. Have a good day, good evening, wherever you're joining us from. Thank you so much, folks. We'll be ending the session now. Now, also about the post-webinar survey poll, which I told you about in the starting, in case you've missed it, and you want the webinar certificate and the proof of attendance. So you can basically put down your full name in the post-webinar survey. It will just pop up when we end the session. So just wait for it and go and fill down the survey, which you will see from Zoom once we end the session. So thank you once again. Thank you.